so that we can begin to record. If you guys have any questions or any concerns, feel free to put them into the chat. There will be some interactive stuff with Sierra. She's going to ask you guys some questions and feedback. She's also watching her chat. I am running the slides today due to technical difficulties on sharing. So, Sierra, we would love to know how to be better organized as writers.
Excellent. Well, hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the sunshine today, and you'll get out and, I don't know, do whatever you do out in the sunshine. So few and far between here in the Pacific Northwest. Anyway, my name is Sierra, and I've been a member of the co-op for, I guess, the past 5 years or so, give or take. And I'm the author of 38 contemporary romance novels. And as Matthew said, I'm here today to talk about organization for writers. And I'm not here to try to sell any, magic snake oil or paste or potions that are going to turn you into some prolific and organized writer overnight. I'm here to share with you what's worked for me over the years, especially in the last year, in its most basic, simplest form. And here's the gist of today's talk. It's about moving past the thinking stage of, I want to write a book or I want to do this, to taking action and using planning and organizational strategies to schedule and manage your writing time and the business tasks that correlate with that. And before we get going here, I do want to ask if you're able to get a pen and paper or anything that you can write on. We are going to be doing an activity about midway through, and would love for you to participate. And there's already a question, how long did it take you to write 38 novels? Well, I started, good question, thank you. I started I started writing my first book in September of 2013. I finished it in January 2014. So it was a 3-month period where I dedicated myself full-time to that. And since then I have been writing. But we are going to talk a little bit more about that and how I ensured that I was able to find the time to do that. So without further ado, next slide. All right, so I have a riddle for you, and in the chat comments, tell me what you think. What is the one thing that we all have but never seem to have enough of? This is the writer's riddle. What do we all have but never seem to have enough of? Right, diapers. Okay. Time. Anybody else? Words. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Chocolate. Oh man, I just had my little daily allotment of chocolate. Wine, energy. All right. Well, based on my talk today, the answer to this riddle is time. We all have it, but we never seem to have enough of it to find the time to write. Am I right? There are hundreds of quotes, and I look through a lot of them to find, quotes about time and its uses. Time is money. Time waits for no one. Time is the most valuable thing a man, women can spend. The two most powerful warriors are patience and time, right? And I think, especially in my own career, authors are the kings and queens of procrastination and wasting time. And we do it so well with excuse after excuse, with reasons why we are not sitting down to write that book or edit that book or market that book. All right, because we all know there's more to it than just writing the book. Because all of the above are far more complicated and difficult to do than the simpler tasks of, checking in and responding to emails that get in our inbox, or getting sucked into our social media account and flipping through all the pretty pictures. Anything can be used as an excuse to keep us from writing that next chapter in our book. And it doesn't matter if you're a full-time writer or a part-time scribbler or just a dreamer with ambitions to write. It's all easy to delay, to find something else to do. And one thing I've been doing in the last few weeks is I've been reading this book called The 5 Second Rule by Mel Robbins. And in it, she talks about how easily we can talk ourselves out of doing just about anything. Like, even say getting up in the morning, our alarm clock goes off. It's like, oh, can I just sleep for another 5 minutes? I don't want to get up right now. And of course, we can, parlay that into writing a book. But what she pushes back with is if we just count backwards using the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, we can break the habit of procrastination, the self-doubt that's in our heads, the fear and uncertainty of writing, and push past that and get down to writing, get down to the business of writing, because in the end, that's really what keeps us from doing what we want to do, right? Unless you think that I'm not a procrastinator, well, let me tell you, I'm still working on my weekly schedules for my TikTok videos that I started, well, let's see, in January. I made a weekly schedule, and I still haven't done them yet. So I am not. This isn't, foolproof. We still have our issues, but if we use some of these methods that I'm going to talk about today, it will hopefully give you something to start with that will get you going. Next slide, please. So our agenda in the presentation today is I'll provide you with some tips and tools on planning to plan, because we have to start somewhere. We have to plan. The organizational tools that I've used for writing, right? And there's so many out there. I'm only going to touch on just a few that I have implemented into my daily writing myself. I'm going to talk about the beauty of routine, and routine is really where it starts. Talking about building a habit. It's the habit of writing and getting into that routine, and then getting into a mindset that, yes, I can do this, and turning off all of the other distractions. All right. So hopefully it'll help you gear up for the year ahead to settle down and write and finish that book, or edit the book that's been sitting, on your laptop or desk, and avoid the temptations of getting sidetracked along the way. But first off, why am I speaking on this topic of organization and productivity for writers? Well, I am definitely not an organizational Stephen Covey guru or anything like that. But as I mentioned, I've written 38 books. I'm an award-winning best-selling author of contemporary romance. I have 2 pen names that I write under. In the last year alone, I created an All-American Boy series that 2 of our co-op authors joined me in. It's an author collective of romance authors from around the world, and I coordinated 2 multi-author series releases. I curated and maintained an audiobook newsletter promoting over 50 authors monthly. I developed a co-writing relationship and published 2 co-written books since last July. I wrote 11 books and published 10 of them just in 11 months last year. And all this while I held down a part-time job and took the entire month of December off. So how did I do it? Did I not sleep? Did I drink copious amounts of coffee? No, I didn't. And while yes, I am very proud of myself for all of those accomplishments. It is the fact that I did what I said I was going to do, and I made it happen by scheduling and just getting it done. So psychologists suggest that there are 2 types of individuals. One has a bias toward action, and the other has a bias towards thinking. So can you guess which one I am? I take action on the things I want to do in my writing career. But it's more than just taking action. It's about strategizing and organizing my time, making achievable goals. I course correct as needed along the way. I don't make excuses, or at least not many. And I get my daily exercise and the right amount of sleep and all of that. But books are our dreams and our escape. And I often, and I'm sure many of you do as well, who have published your books. You hear from others who say, "Oh man, I'd really like to write a book someday. That's really great." Well, anyone can say they want to write a book, which is the dream, right? But those who say they want to do it and then make time and the effort to see it happen are who we call authors. All right. Questions so far? Let me look through the chat here. Thank you. Someone posted the 5-second rule. Let's see. Okay, I think we're good. So next slide, please, Matthew. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we were already on that slide. Sorry. Planning to plan. Okay. So recently, a Harvard business study published something that I think we authors need to think about. The first thing is that those who set a defined goal are 10 times more likely to succeed than those that don't. All right, 10 times more likely if they set a defined goal. And then secondly, those who wrote down that goal and viewed it daily, had it visible, were more likely to achieve it than just those who wrote it down. And I think that sort of action applied to the overall goal of writing your book, or hitting a bestseller list, or maybe earning a certain level of profit or income from your books. But it really just applies to the basic foundation of finishing a book. Not only is it setting a goal and writing it down and planning is it incredibly important, but there are other steps and tools we authors can use that will increase our success further. So before we move on, by a show of hands in the chat, how many of you wrote down a goal and set your writing goals for 2022? I know we had a meeting back in January and we talked about this. Yep. Nope. I did. Yep. All right. That's good. So out of that then, how many of you have it visible for you to see every day? Is it somewhere that you look at and go to and reflect on and view every day? No writing goal this year. Yes, it will be. All right. Yes, visible, almost weekly. Good, good. Oh, Microsoft To-Do app. That must be Matthew. All right. So much of what we're going to discuss today is about keeping the goals fresh by keeping them in front of us. And then from there, chunking them down so that they don't seem so overwhelming, where we can find our rhythm. Okay, next slide. So there's a lot of organizational tactics out there. And I went to this course once and it was very overwhelming for me. And so I saw this funny post a couple weeks ago. I don't know who needs this, but don't spend all your money on 4 planners, stickers, and multicolored pens for 2022. You're not going to use them. You're not that kind of person. You know that about yourself. So, it is important to know what kind of person you are, but it's also important to realize that sometimes you have to step out of your norm, especially if your norm is not working for you, right? You got to step out of the box and find something that might be able to, push you into the right, in the right direction. So, next slide. Okay, organizational tools for writers. Every writer has their own way of doing things. So my way is not necessarily going to resonate with everybody. There is no right way to go about organizing your time. Some will like the markers and color-coded sticky notes and others don't, and that's okay. But what I'm going to share with you are the things that I've learned and implemented in my daily writing routine and business. And there's so many other organizational tools out there. You just gotta look for them, right? So You need to find what works, is easy to use, is repeatable, and doesn't get you bogged down in all of the mire and unable to accomplish what you really want. So that's why I've chosen some of my favorites as a springboard. And the first one is the Kanban board. Now, I think Matthew has mentioned this or mentioned it at some point, but I took a course called the HB90 course. It was developed by an author. She might be a romance author, but she's also, I think, a fantasy author. Anyway, she developed this course, and it like opened my eyes to it basically it helps those who are very tactile and visual, and that's where the Kanban is extremely effective. Kanban was invented in the 40s by the Japanese manufacturing process, initially implemented with the Toyota car manufacturing industry. And it is either in the form of a physical or a digital project management tool. And it's a visual tracking system, allowing the business or organization to track goals and progress of those goals. And I'll delve more into that in one of the next slides. Then the next one, can you go to the next one, are planners and calendars. I mean, the age-old calendar desk is just fine if that's the tool you want to use. There are online tools like Outlook or Google Calendars. There's the old-fashioned desk calendar. There are all sorts of planners. I mean, you can get super fancy stuff out there. And what I have used is through the Author Productivity Workbook Publishing Planner. And as Matthew mentioned early on, I know the author who has developed this. She's a good friend of mine, and she has offered a discount for anybody who wants to purchase this after this course. And we'll talk more about that so you get a good understanding of what this is. And then the next organizational tool are online project management tools. And now I've used them in the past. I personally don't get as much from them, but they do help a lot of people, a lot of writers, such as Kindlepreneurs Atticus and Scrivener. Those, just to name two of them, are tools that help you set up your goals and your writing, the plotting process and your scenes and just about anything that you want to do, your word count. And it's great for other people. And then the last organizational time management tools is the word count goals. And I know Linda Jordan mentioned this quite in depth in her co-op presentation back in December 2020, which until last year, I didn't really push myself to use daily word counts as a motivator. I just kind of wrote until I was done writing during the day. But now I don't know how I would have managed any of my deadlines last year without backing into those dates with word count goals. And so we'll talk more about that. Before we move further, any questions so far? Okie dokie. The next one. So I'm going to talk about the Kanban board, especially the one that I use. So as I mentioned, I took this course called HB90, and it's heartbreathings.com. And HB90 is because what this individual does is she breaks things down into 90-day increments. Basically, each quarter, she creates a new Kanban board with her to-do list specifically for that quarter. So I don't know if you can see this very well, but this is my Kanban board. I have 3 goals: goal 1, goal 2, goal 3. This isn't fancy or high tech, but it's a visual task list for me that I use. And the way that you monitor and use this is I've established 3 goals for the quarter. All right. And then under each goal, I have tasks that I need to do and accomplish to get from point A to point Z during that quarter. And so as I do them, I take the sticky note and I move it down midway down to doing now. And when I'm done with that task, I put it under my done. So the goal then is to basically, you start at the beginning of the quarter with all the sticky notes on the top with all your tasks, and get them all down to the bottom, or most of them down at the bottom, if that makes sense. Has anybody ever used anything like this for your writing before?
Sierra, I used to do this as a living for
Yes.
for software.
And how did it go? Did you like it?
I mean, yes, I loved it. We planned multi-million-dollar projects with sticky notes.
Right, right. And for those who are, again, visual, it helps. For those who like the color-coded prettiness, it helps. And for me, I come into my office every day. It is right there. It is visible. I go to my, before I even sit down at my desk, I go to my board. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do today? All right, I have a 1,500, 1,600 word goal. I'm going to take one of those sticky notes. I put it down in doing now, and I make sure I move it to the done when I'm done for the day. All right. So that is what the HB90 course by this Sarah Gannon taught me. And for me, it's been a lifesaver. Now, if you don't have the room in your office space for a Kanban board like this, a physical one, there are also online free Kanban boards. I've not used them, so I can't speak to, how good they are. Matthew, maybe I don't.
I hacked the Microsoft To Do app to be sort of a Kanban board.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I had a question. Do you differentiate in your backlog, like goal 1, goal 2, goal 3 of your work, and you set your priority levels? Do you have things that need to be done on a daily basis? And then do you have a list of things that are like long-term projects? Like there are things that you have to do every week or every day versus like, oh, I have to get those covers done sometime in the next month. Do you distinguish between those? Or is
Yeah,
that
good question. So mainly what I put up on my board are more of the bigger tasks. So for example, my goal number 1 is to get an agent. Okay, so up in the top there is I've listed agents that I'm going to be contacting for the particular quarter, and so those are their tasks. They're basic. It's a project. And then goal number 2 is to write my book in my Casey Cassidy line. And these are word count goals, but then it's also, the cover reveal, and it's also this and that. And so I don't know if I'm answering your question right, but they are both like more project-based and then the simpler daily tasks. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about how I use the smaller, minute tasks and put them in my planner.
okay? Are you gonna talk about how you set priority?
I don't really. So yes, there is part of the whole Kanban process is about prioritizing. I don't.
That's okay.
That's where I kind of converge off the Kanban process. If you want to talk about it, absolutely feel free.
No, it's just when you have a lot of items, especially if we're very, very busy, Kanban really pushes people to take all those items and put them actually in an order. Like you actually take off the top of the stack. Do you limit the size of the task item that you have? I know that's another thing in Kanban. They try to limit it to like a 4-hour piece of work or an 8-hour piece of work. Do you do anything like that?
I don't. Nope. No.
Okay.
So, but in this course, in the HB90 method, she talks a lot about prioritization. Not necessarily limiting the size, I don't think, but definitely the prioritization. I've just chosen not to do that part.
Totally.
Yep.
Thanks for answering my question.
Yeah. Also, I will, at the end of this, when we send out the information via email, I'll send you a link to her YouTube video where she shows you how she uses the Kanban board every quarter and starts fresh. And I think it's just helpful to see it in use, to see if it's something that you want to give it a try. It does take a little while if you've, not used it. So, okay. All right, next up, this is my favorite. So my friend Karina Flynn, she is an author, and she put this together from the author's perspective, the publishing planner. I've used it now for 4 years, and I don't know what I would do without it. It is a tool that offers annual, quarterly, monthly, and daily goal sheets. And it's basically an all-in-one, effective, easy to use organizational planner. So on the left side of the screen, you can see this is just a blank template that's included in at the front of the book, and you can map out your quarter, adding in, the tasks. So it's kind of similar to the Kanban, but it's basically just a calendar. And then she has in the tool itself, she has daily motivations specific to writing, helpful to-do reminders, goal worksheets. She has tons of blank book launch planning worksheets, which are so great because during every launch, especially if you have a lot of time between launches, there's things we forget, and this helps you in not stressing about forgetting anything. And because she's my friend, do you want to go on to the next slide? She has given all of you a special offer if you would like to purchase her book. The 25% off. Obviously, it's an annual, so it'll start. You'd start using it from February on. But it's just I can't say enough great things about this tool. So the offer is good through February 21st. And if it can help you improve your output and your writing goals for the year, great. Grab it while it lasts. Any questions about that?
I've put the link in the chat a couple times.
Okay, cool. And I do ask, though, she asked not to share the link outside of this group, because obviously this is her work, and she wants to get paid for it. So all right, next slide. The beauty of routine. All right. So we walked through some tools that will help with organization. And the next logical step is developing a sustainable routine. I think personally, one of the most soul-destroying parts of the writing process is having to spend time every day trying to wiggle in time to write and then coming up empty. Like, you would keep saying, oh, I gotta find time to write. Oh, I need at least 20 minutes to write. And then in a flash, the day just goes by and you haven't written a darn thing. And then you do the same thing the next day and the next day, and a week goes by and a month goes by and you haven't written. And how frustrating is that? So routines and schedules are hugely important in the creative process because they help us do things on autopilot so we don't have to try so hard. Just like my coffee maker. I set it up at night, I turn on the scheduled time, and voila, I have fresh brewed coffee when I wake. And research tells us that many of the most productive creatives are also the most regimented and rigorous in these behaviors. And I know, I'm hearing the objections now. I can't be forced to write at a specific time. I'm not a robot, right? Isn't that what we're all feeling? But here's the deal. When you build a writing routine and you develop that daily habit of writing, it will happen. You'll soon find you crave it, you need it, you can't live without it. And now I'm sounding like one of my romance characters. In her presentation on goal setting, Linda shared with the co-op her suggestion on using daily, monthly, and annual word count goals. And I wholeheartedly agree that you should use daily goals of word count. And if you're a person who likes rewards, then you can do that too when you hit a goal. I just finished my first book of the year. I finished it early on Wednesday. I already started editing it. And yesterday I went and got myself a cupcake because I like rewards and I like cupcakes. So reward yourself for doing it, you know? So this is where we're going to get into this activity. Once again, it comes from the HB90 method. All right. You want to go to the next screen? All right. I know this is a really busy slide, but in a nutshell, it's my schedule. It's my calendar. All right. And what I have done is I have time blocked every single day of the week with when I'm going to write and everything else. Okay. And what this does is, based on the HB90 method, is by blocking out my day's activities, I know specifically where I'm going to be spending my time each day, and I can determine my ideal writing time and make sure it is uninterrupted. It holds me accountable to doing what I say I'm going to do. So if you're looking at this calendar, it's a weekly calendar, Sunday through Saturday. You'll notice my Sunday is blocked out in red. I do no writing on Sundays. I do very little, if any, writing business on Sunday. I mean, today's Sunday and I'm doing this, but that's okay. Every once in a while is okay. But otherwise, I give myself a break. The rest of the week, 6 days a week, and this was even when I was working part-time, I had a very regimented schedule. I get up usually around 6:30. I spend an hour, I have my coffee, I do my stretches, I play with the dog, I have my routine. But by 7:30 a.m., I am in my writing chair. I do emails and check in for 30 minutes. And then at 8 a.m., I start to write. And then from 8:30 to 12:30, I write. Now, that doesn't mean I'm sitting here for 4 hours straight writing, but what I do take a break every hour to go get my steps for the hour, to move around, to hydrate, run to the restroom, whatever. But by blocking this time, I know that at the end, if I have done what I said I was going to do, I'm going to have made my word count of 1,600 words for that day, because I know in my years of writing, I can get that much done in that time period. And then I take a lunch. And then I come back, and the rest of the afternoon is dedicated to business. Now, what I also do is I know that I'm going to have, like, as everyone does, errands. You might have to go pick up the kids at school. You might have to drop off the dog at the vet. You have to go grocery shopping. I do that outside of my writing. So I plan accordingly. I spend the half hour, whatever it is, and I try to schedule things in the afternoon because I know my creative brain has kind of turned off by then, and I've already met my goal, so I'm good. Okay. Questions about this?
Sarah, I had a question. As somebody who has 38 books, you started, you said back in, I think, 2013.
Mm-hmm.
How much of this change occurred over that time frame, and how much of it is now a business mindset where you're in essence, it looks like you're showing up to work at 8:30 and you cut out around noon? Do you treat this like a business, like you're going to a job?
Absolutely. Good question. I
And
treat my writing.
do you see that characteristic with other authors who've published as many books as you?
It really it varies. So I treat my writing career like a full-time job because it is, and I won't earn money if I don't do my work, right? And the beauty of this job is we have our flexibility to do it whenever. But if we don't block that time and ensure we get it done, then yeah, nobody's forcing us to sit down and write. So we have to be the ones to do it ourselves. And it's funny because I have author friends who are, they're mothers They work full time. They have 3 kids, and they can only write like 1 weekend a month. But they ensure, and we're going to talk about this more in when we talk about writing sprints. But they have 1 weekend a month, and that's when they write, and they get their books done because they make themselves do it. So yeah, it's definitely you have to treat it like a business. All right. So now it's your turn. Oh, go back one more time. Thank you. Now it's your turn. I'm going to give you, let's see, we're at 2:09, so we have plenty of time here. I'm going to give maybe 3 minutes, and I want you to at least try to establish. I think the most important part is to get a rough sketch of when is your ideal writing time. When are you the most creative? Because I think a lot of people go into this and say, I can't work like this. I can't just sit down and say, I'm going to write every day and I'm going to be creative from, X amount of time. And that's okay. Your creative time might not be from 8:30 to 12:30 every day. You might be a night owl and get your best ideas in writing time from 10 to 1. And that's okay. But figure out if you could have uninterrupted time, when is that? So I'm going to give you a few minutes, and I'd like you to give this a try. Block out your day. When can you write? And Matthew, you have a really good, you have a really good story behind your writing time too. I mean, how you get it done is, wow.
I'm not as productive as you, though.
But the fact that you're so disciplined and regimented about it is pretty impressive.
I have a wonderful wife that forces me.
So we have with the kids, stay-at-home dad. Yeah, that's you, right? Okay.
Yep.
My ideal writing time is 6:30 to 7:30. Yeah. 10 a.m. to 1. Okay. All right. So finding your ideal time is the first and most important thing, and then working around it and not getting allowing other things to get in your way of doing that work. Okay. All right. Next slide. So, monotasking versus multitasking. Have you ever played the game as a child where you had to try to rub the top of your head in one direction and your tummy in the other direction? I never could do it. I was horribly uncoordinated. Maybe some of you could. That's great. And multitasking has been that big motivational buzzword back in the day. You were applauded for your ability to multitask in the office, in business, at school, in the household. But as a writer, I mean, how does that work out? It doesn't, at least not for me, because writing takes concentration and effort. If you're flipping through emails 1 second and then throwing the dog toy for the next second and then looking up recipes for dinner, and it's going to take you a whole lot longer to finish just that one sentence, much less the entire book. So what monotasking is, it's carving out time in your day like we just did, uninterrupted time to write, just write. And similar to writing sprints, you want to go to the next one? Similar to writing sprints, you give yourself an allotted time and you don't do anything else for that time. And I focus on one task and one task only. And actually, it helps because I write. So as I mentioned, I write my own solo books. I have 2 pen names, and then I also co-write. So I have blocked out my week where I write on certain days, one pen name, and then I write a chapter of my co-written book on one day a week. So I schedule it intentionally that way, and I focus on that one task for that day. And I'm not saying I don't get interrupted. I turn my notifications off, but you know what? When my mother calls me, to tell me that she won the big bridge hand for the game, for the day, I listen. I pick up the call. But then I quickly get refocused and I get back into the groove. But I turn off my notifications where possible. Some of you might put on soothing background music to kind of, block out everything else. Or if you have a really busy revolving door in your house, you might wear a pair of noise canceling headphones. But whatever it is that will keep you focused on the task at hand, that's what you need to do. Okay. And a great article on monotasking your writing is free on the Readsy blog, and I'll send that link to you as well in my follow-up email. I don't think, yeah, I've already talked about that. Okay, next one.
I had a quick question. Do you differentiate your writing time from plotting and planning, or are those all done together?
So when I start a new book, I have like worksheets, that I use for the plotting, and character development. And I put that in my writing time.
All right, great.
Not tonight, honey. What? You think the book's going to write itself? A little romance writer humor. But because it applies to all of us, the book isn't going to write itself. Therefore, you have to stay on task. And then you can reward yourself at the end. Next one. All right. I don't know if we've ever talked about sprinting. Has anybody talked about sprinting in previous conversations?
We maybe have mentioned it in the past, but
Okay.
not in great detail.
Okay. So what are word sprints? They are timed writing meets, so to speak, where you push yourself to write as many words as possible in a very short set duration of time. It's like speed writing, if you will. And word sprints can be done on your own, with others, or even using a live YouTube sprinting session. So whatever floats your boat and gets you motivated, you can even just go on YouTube and search live writing sprints, and you'll find a ton of pre-recorded sessions that will pop up. So when you sprint, the only thing that matters is the words you get on paper. It's kind of a means of greasing up and oiling your creative wheels and getting the writing juices flowing. And the beauty of sprints is it's simply to keep going and not look back, right? So you might write 300 words in 25 minutes and not look up from your computer. And then the buzzer goes off and you give yourself a little break. Or maybe 1,200 words in 55 minutes. And they could all be drivel, but that's okay. Something out of it is useful, and that's the key. So during your sprint, you keep going, you don't look back, you don't reread and edit as you go, you just keep writing until the timer buzzes. And then the point is, again, you keep moving, and if you get stuck, just highlight it and skip ahead and come back to it after the sprint. So as I mentioned earlier, other writers who maybe have full-time jobs or kids that are young and they only can work on their books a certain very short time blocks, they use sprints religiously as a way to get their writing done, and it helps them stay motivated. And they make the most of their time. Some even can write like 10,000 words in a day, which I find crazy, but some people can do it, and they do it with sprints. Now I will do sprints every once in a while, mostly with myself. I just set my phone timer for like a 25-minute time block, and then I write. And then I give my brain and body a 5-minute break, and then I do it again for like an hour or two at a time. But the idea is you are writing and you're making yourself write. Questions?
Do you include editing time, like when you're rewriting or drafting or rewriting? Do you do that in sprint format, or is that something separate?
That's something separate, but I do. So like for me, I finished my book on Wednesday, and I have goals then of how many chapters I'm going to edit each day, so I can hit my deadline to send it to the editor. So I know how many words I need to get edited each day. And so I consider that my writing time. Yeah. Did that answer it?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. I did once 10 pages in one day on a Saturday when I had a full-time job. That's great. Awesome. And it is hard, when you have a full-time gig outside of writing, it is hard. And I mean, I look at my friends who are mothers, fathers, and they work full time, and I'm like, I could not do it. I really couldn't. So yeah, more power to you when you have to find those little bits of time. And that's why I think scheduling your blocks of time then and having someone who's very supportive that can help you in making that happen is wonderful. All right, next one. So keeping things on track. So of course we would all love to see our books displayed in Barnes and Noble on the shelves, or be the next sensation on TikTok, or make the New York Times bestseller list. But sometimes seeing how much we've written during the course of a specific time period can be just as rewarding and fulfilling. And that's why I keep track of my word count for the year across all books, especially because I write concurrent books. It's just a gratifying feeling to see what I've accomplished, and it keeps me motivated to keep going. So this is just a little snippet from, it's just a Word doc that I, from July to November of last year. And these are the books: the Girlfriend Game, Benny from the Block, The Boyfriend Checklist, Ignited, and Scoring Over the Holidays that I wrote. Now, one of them was my co-written book. The other was a short novella for an anthology. But I kept track, and at the end, during that, it was July through November, I wrote 164,000 words. And to me, that was gratifying to see. Like, okay, I can do it. But the only way I was able to do it was by keeping to my plan and doing my meeting my daily word count goal. So for me, it's just something that I crave. I look forward to finishing out my day every day and noting my word count and seeing that I made my goal. Okay. Any questions on that? All right. So in summary, some days you're going to make it, others you're going to blow it away. And some days, are just going to be better than others. But it's all pretty simple at the core. There's nothing earth shattering or mind blowing about this. And I certainly didn't write the book on it, so to speak, on organization and planning. But I hope it's, motivated you to find out what works for you, to help you plan and make it happen, and to help you keep track of what you're working on and keep going when things are tough, because it is tough, right? Writing is not easy, and if anybody tells you otherwise, they're obviously not doing it. So anyhow, next slide. So resources, so many great articles on ReadZ. I think it's just readz.com. Prolifico is something I found. They're kind of like writing coaches, but if you sign up, excuse me, for their email, you get like 8 free emails that kind of give you some fun tips about, goal setting and all of that. We already talked about the author productivity, where you can get the author planner if you wish. YouTube has just plethora of different organizational tools and helpful resources for you. And I've mentioned heart breathings and the HB90 method, so definitely go check that out if you want. And then so many books on organization and websites for writers. And I will send you what I used for this presentation and that I found helpful. But yeah. So what questions do you have for me? Anything?
Yeah,
Any other tools?
Yeah, we had a question from Diana regarding, if something derails you, like an illness or a family issue, do you double up on that on the remaining days, or you just take it as a pass and move on?
funny you should ask that, Diana. Hi. I actually had that happen to me last year. I had to take the entire month of December off because of an eye surgery, and I couldn't write at all. And so, but I was able to know that up front. That was a thing. I knew I had to kind of work backwards to make my goals. But I didn't know that at the beginning of the year. So I had made plans for the entire year. And once I found out I had to have that surgery, I had to push everything and really kind of double down on meeting my goals. But then again, sometimes, life happens and you can't beat yourself up for it, right? So if things slip, they slip. And you just have to kind of, again, course correct and get back to when you're feeling better or able to write again, get back at it and try to do the best to catch up that you can.
You listed a lot of great things in your talk. Is there something that somebody could take home today, like one thing, and get the biggest bang for the buck? What would you say it would be?
Well, oh geez, it really depends on where you're at with your if you feel like you're already a pretty motivated and organized person, I would say the planner. I can't speak enough good things about this thing. I just love it. It has everything. And even if you use just the calendar alone or the daily motivational tips, I mean, it's great. That is for sure. The other thing, if you like kind of the self-help, like psychology of things, I would definitely recommend you checking out Mel Robbins, her 5-second rule. The book or audiobook, or her website, or there's a lot of YouTube videos out there too. She has a profound statement and it's super, super simple. And I really liked hearing it.
Awesome. Does anybody have any other questions? You can toss them into the chat.
Somebody asked, Roland, you asked how big is the Kanban board? I'm really bad with measurements. I would say it's, oh gosh, maybe 3 by I don't know. I'm really bad. I wish I had a ruler. I don't know. 3 by, maybe 3 by 5. That's my guess. Anybody else? Oh, somebody posted a story planner and writer goals.
Yeah, I think I was trying to drop in all your references along the way. So if anybody has any questions, check out the chat. As Sierra was referencing things, I was trying to throw those references in real time. I think Diana had a question here. So does the planner have specific things like for publishing, like scheduling long book tours, getting covers done, updating back matter? Do you put that into your planner, or is the planner for something specific like writing goals?
So she has, I'm looking at it right now. So for launch planning and tracking, she has ARC team promotion, and it lists like a whole bunch of things to do to get ready for launch day. And then it says graphics created, and so different graphics to make. So Instagram graphics, Facebook header, Facebook ads, talks about newsletter planning, swaps, paid advertising, kind of a advertiser cost breakdown. Let's see here. Cover, yep, she talks about items needed on hand, file uploads. I mean, it's really comprehensive. Did that answer a question?
Yeah, that does. I had just wondered if it was kind of a to-do checklist in addition to just an inspiration sort of thing. So that sounds really, really
Yep.
great.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely because again, I mean, even like I'm pretty, frequent with my releases, but I don't remember everything every single time. And this, yeah, you can just go check, 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 go down the list.
So do you do the yearly one, and do you like the paper or the spiral bound one better?
I've used both. So I use the up until this year, I've used the paper one, I guess. But I got the spiral one this year. I think her discount though is for just the regular. What is that called? Comb bound? No, not comb bound. What is it called? Where it's just the glue, the glued binding. Anything else?
I think that is it. Everybody in the chat, we can say thank you to Sierra for her hard work and your time. And Sierra, if you have any links or things you'd like me to add in, I'll make sure to include that in the next email that goes out. I appreciate your time and everything. We'll go ahead and stop the recording now.